in Colombo. Bringing you face to face this evening for the Newsfirst team, I am Wijeyadasa. Sri Lanka is currently at a very crucial point in its history. When it comes to Sri Lanka's political history, Sri Lanka's economy, who will guide Sri Lanka out of this crisis? That will be answered on the 21st of September 2024, less than 2 weeks from today. This time around, there's a record number of presidential candidates who are vying for the top seat in the country, and I have one such presidential candidate with me in the studios today. He is President's Counsel, Dr. Wijeyadasa Rajapakshe, presidential candidate of the National Democratic Front. A very good evening to you, Doctor, and welcome back on the show.
Good evening.
So, Doctor, I believe when we had a chat earlier on Face to Face, when you came here as the Minister of Justice, but now you are sitting as a presidential candidate who is seeking the people's mandate to secure the presidency in Sri Lanka. But everyone is aware that the name Wijeyadasa Rajapakshe has been in the political fora or the political landscape for many decades. Out of all the potential eras or times you could have contested for the top spot in the country, why did you choose this particular time, 2024, as the opportune moment to elect yourself or to run for presidency?
Thank you very much. In fact, that my political career goes back to over 45 years. When I was a student, I was involved in the 1976 by-election in our electorate, our constituency, Mulkirigala,
right,
down south. Then in 1977 general election. But later on that I was not much, had no much interest in politics. After my A-level, I joined the Bank of Ceylon.
Okay.
I became a banker.
I see.
While being in the bank, only I did my law examinations, and after a few years I joined the legal profession.
Right.
There, of course, I was appearing for many political leaders. Especially I was appearing for Mrs. Bandaranayake. That is how that I got this, the political connection with the Sri Lanka Freedom Party.
Right.
I just continued that relationship with Chandrika Bandaranayake also. Subsequently, of course, for all the presidents that I was the legal advisor mostly, yes, and I was the election agent also for some of these candidates, except President Gotabaya Rajapakshe.
Right.
With all this experience, especially by the beginning, Mahinda Rajapakshe, then Maithripala Sirisena, later on, of course, Gotabaya Rajapakshe. The country was not successful, of course, that we ended up with a bankruptcy.
Yes.
Therefore, I thought that I know their capacities, especially the capacities of the contenders, all the candidates. Especially I was in Ranil Wickremesinghe's government 3 times. One time that I resigned, one time I was sacked. With all this experience, that I have no confidence to support any one of the candidates who are coming forward in this election. I thought that I have better qualifications and better capacity to run this country than all these competitors.
Right.
That is why I came.
Understood. So, Dr. Rajapakshe, a majority of the candidates this time around and historically have always contested in alliances, and you were initially backed by former President Maithripala Sirisena and his faction of the SLFP. We know there's an ongoing crisis there as well, but the former president seems to have now fallen out of that picture. Although he endorsed you and said he will pledge his support for your presidency, your candidacy, he now seems to have moved away from the picture, and you are the sole figure who is now advocating or canvassing for a presidency. What happened there? Was there a dispute, or you did not see eye to eye later on?
In fact, that I never asked for the chairmanship of the SLP. I have never fought for anything, asking any portfolio or any positions in political parties. Every time if I have accepted a portfolio, any office in all the political parties in which that I was, they offered to me voluntarily. You know that for the leadership of a political party, there had been many crises, many killings, many controversies in the history. If there was no such, struggles, people like Gamini Disanayak, Atulat Mudali, they should have been alive today. When SLP wanted me to take over the chairmanship of the party, I said that I will accept on one condition. If your executive committee unanimously appoints me, pass a resolution to appoint me, then I said I will accept. Then on that meeting, there were 142 members of the executive committee, those who endorsed fully, unanimously, that I should be the chairman. But with some of the ministers who are in the cabinet, members of the SLP, they went to court several times. Now there are about 12 cases
that are pending in courts.
They're pending. For each decision that we take, that they rush to the court immediately. They take interim orders also.
Yes.
Then with that one, most of the senior members of our party, they are not bothered about the country. They are not bothered about the party also. They wanted to see that who is the winning candidate. They wanted to go behind the winning horse. Some people went to Ranil. Later on, they realized that Ranil has no chance. Again, they joined Sajid. One group went to Sajid. Later on, they realized that they are not getting a proper place in that party. Then they rushed to Ranil. All these ad hoc decisions purely for the benefit of themselves. I am happy about it. Because if I had some other corrupt people of that caliber or that nature, I may not have, gone up to this extent in this political arena as a candidate for the presidential election. I think that it's not that I think, I fully believe it's a blessing that all these people are out. Now I am picking one by one all genuine people who can serve this country.
So over the past few days, and I'm sure until the 21st of September, until the silent period leading up to the presidential election, we will see many political rallies being held across the island. Prominent politicians, prominent presidential candidates by the likes of Ranil Wickremesinghe, Anukumara Dissanayake, Sajid Premadasa are holding massive rallies across the island. But Wijeyadasa Rajapakshe has opted for a more unorthodox approach, and we were having a conversation before the program about that approach, and you believe that that approach can have a greater bearing or a greater significance in the people that you speak to. So tell us about how you are campaigning. We don't see all those gala campaigns that are being headlined by Wijeyadasa Rajapakshe. What is your approach to reaching out to the people and getting their support?
In fact, that this is the first time that we are going for a presidential election when the country was bankrupt. Similarly, you may see that not only the country is bankrupt, all the political parties are bankrupt. All the candidates also bankrupt politicians. Then as to how that they wanted to show the people, that is just to cheat the people, saying that we are having the edge over the fight. They wanted to gather maybe 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 people. In all those rallies, I know most of the people that they have brought, maybe by giving a packet of rice or 1,000 rupees, or in some cases that by giving some liquor. If you look at that, the same buses which were in Madara today, of that the same political party, you can see the same buses in Anuradhapura on the following day.
Right.
Therefore, that however much the people get into this active politics in this election, in numbers, the maximum, if you keep the maximum, that is less than 200,000 people in all political parties. Out of 17.1 million voters, I believe that 14.2 million to 5 million people will vote.
Right.
But when 200,000 people are involved in all these propagandas, at least over 14 million are at home.
Right. Undecided?
Not that I can't say undecided.
Right.
They are at home. They are not fully involved in this process.
Actively.
Right. The secondly, when they have that kind of mega rally, still although say mega, maybe 500 people, very rarely they about 1,000 people. They address 500 or 1,000 people. At least 90% of the people who are coming for these political rallies are their followers.
Right.
In ardent followers. Whether they hold the rallies or not, they will vote for them. It doesn't mean that they are accumulating or adding any new votes.
Right.
In my case, normally when I go on this campaign to one particular district, I address about 15 to 20 meetings in the villages. Normally in some meetings maybe 50, sometimes even 300, 400, sometimes 100. It varies depending on the population.
But separate sets of people?
Separate sets of people, I go them and talk personally, because then they come to know me personally, that any time they can, at least they can say, no, that I met you in that village, then I know. The people like to have that kind of, we are having that kind of culture.
Right.
When they address 500 people by spending maybe 5 or 6 million rupees, I without spending any amount, I address at least about 2,000 to 3,000 people. I did that last couple of days. I did in Ratnapura, I did in Kurunegala, and then Putlam. Tomorrow also I am having a similar program. I think that my system is much effective and successful.
Understood. So let's moving to the manifesto you released a couple of days ago. The manifesto, which is named Vidimat Ratak, I believe it loosely translates into an orderly nation.
An orderly nation.
An orderly nation, and it touches upon some of the key economic and also social matters in the country, and also it outlines certain major components that you believe must be addressed in the country for Sri Lanka to develop. So can you maybe brief our viewers about what those key components are, what you have paid attention to and what not?
In fact, that I have addressed my mind in my manifesto, especially that economy. When it comes to economy, you cannot isolately, define what the economy is.
Right.
The economy is consisting of agriculture, industries, finance industries, finance control, tax system. All those are matters of economy.
Right.
But you cannot improve the economy unless you have the rule of law in the country.
Right.
Just to make it very straight and methodical, I have proposed that if I come into power, that I will do certain constitutional reforms.
Right.
One is to establish a bicameral legislature instead of a single legislature like today. In all these Westminster system countries like that UK, India, that they are having the Senate. When it comes to the executive presidency, in that system also, like USA, France, Germany, all these countries having Senate. There is a strong reason behind that as to why that you are maintaining a Senate. We had it prior to 1972. Unfortunately, our constitutional experts repeal it, abolish it. The importance of the Senate is always the parliamentarians come on the popular basis.
Okay.
They are not willing to take any decisions just to deplete their popularity.
That will be derogatory to their voter base.
And therefore that at times may not be every time, most of the times that they think about their reputation, their good name, just to continue as politicians, and they are taking a lot of adverse decisions to the country. If we have the Senate, that could have been mitigated.
Right.
Because they are functioning as an
oversight body.
And also as a galaxy of intellects.
Right.
If Parliament is derailing, they know how to put it into the rail. And other special reason for a country like ours, our Senate was composed of very senior, highly dignified leaders of every community, including the minority community.
Yes.
And they had a very high confidence in the legal system. When it was repealed, the people lost the confidence on the legislature. On the other hand, when the Parliament took the whole power into their hand, they abused it. That is why the SLP government, the SLP party came down to 8 seats in 1977.
Right.
And as a result, when the people lost their confidence in the system, especially when 1972 Constitution was discussed,
right.
All the representatives from the Tamil communities left it.
Okay.
Due to few other reasons, not only this. Then that was a reason just to have that is just to have that conflict between the races.
Okay.
Especially that there was a war for about 3 decades. People thought that is a war in between Sinhalese and Tamil. That is not so.
Right.
It was that those who were trying to separate the country. That mentality was influenced when you repeal this one.
Okay.
And therefore I presented a cabinet paper to reintroduce it. Cabinet gave the approval in principle.
Right.
But on my own, I didn't want to take it up. At the eve of an election, if I bring this kind of drastic law, people might think that I am trying to scuttle the election, and various other suspicions may arise. In addition to that, I have proposed we have to have a constitutional court, which we had before.
Discuss constitutional matters.
Constitutional matters, then only you can enhance the independence and the trust towards the legal system in the country.
Right.
In most of the countries, they are having now constitutional courts. If the Supreme Court itself is trying to adjudicate the issues related to constitution, there can be some areas where there can be some conflicts.
Right.
Thirdly, I have proposed reforms. This is electoral
reforms.
Yeah. This representative system, has opened the floodgate or the door for most of the corruptions. In an election of this nature, that unless you have enormous, the amount of money, you can't contest.
Right.
As a result, what has happened is that educated people, intelligent people
have stepped away.
And also you are allowing that the rogues to come into the Parliament from the day one after they were elected. You are trying to chase them out. That has been the culture throughout. That will have to stop. With these new amendments, new reforms that I did, especially anti-corruption law, electoral expenditure law, I have the belief in the next Parliament, the majority, at least 150 people, may be rejected by the people. Those who are coming,
who are in the current
Parliament, those who are coming to the Parliament by spending ill-gotten money. I hope that there will be a
restriction.
Restriction, and new people
will be able to
contest this election.
Right.
Those are the reforms that I am trying to do. That is just to ensure the rule of law.
Understood. Okay, so we are in conversation with President's Counsel Dr. Wijeyadasa Rajapakshe, who is also a presidential candidate representing the National Democratic Front. We will cross over for a short commercial breaks. Do stay tuned to Face to Face. We will be right back.
News First. Face to Face with Jamal Ratnayaka.
A trusted place for your fixed deposit. Valuable FD, a symbol of stability.
Don't miss the Institute of International Auditors Sri Lanka's 9th National Conference on September 11th, 2024. Gain powerful insight into embracing trends, enhancing value from top experts. Secure your spot. Register now at www.iiasl.lk. Media sponsor, TV1.
Step away from the conventional art of storytelling. Get ready for the Newsfirst Breakfast Rundown with me, Zulfikar Farzan.
Madhav innawada?
සිම්පත හරියට ලියාපදිංචි කරගෙන තියෙන්න ඕන. සමහරව එහෙම දන්නෙත් නැහනේ.
මේ සිම්පත කොයිතරම් වැදගත්ද කියලා මේ දුරකථන පාවිච්චි කරන හැම දෙනාම දන්නේ නැහැ කියලා තමයි මම කියන්නේ.
මැයි වලින් පස්සේ ලොකු ගංවතුර තත්ත්වයක් එන්න නියමිතයි කියලා. කාලකුණ විද්‍යාඥයින් අනතුරු අංගවන පසුබිමක ඔබ කොයි විදිහටද මේ අපේ තෙත්බිම් සම්බන්ධයෙන් දකින්නේ?
කොළඹ නගරයේ තියෙන නාගරික තෙත්බිම් වලින් 21%ක් තියෙන නාගරික තෙත්බිම් වලින් වැසි ජලයෙන් 39%ක් රඳවා ගන්න බව.
විලද නගරයට කටයුතු කරන කට්ටිය දැන් එනවා පරිපාලනය නගරයට. ඔතුමේ දන්නවා හැටි අපි ගත්තොත් අලවතුකොට එහෙම නැත්නම් කිඹුලවල ප්‍රදේශයේ අපිට තියෙනවා රැයට කෑම කඩ. ඉස්සර ඒක තිබ්බේ කොහෙද? කොළඹ. මොකද දැන් ගොඩ දෙනෙක් මේ පැත්තට එන්න පටන් ගන්න. මොකද ඒගොල්ලන්ට අර කොළ පාට ගතිය මේ තියෙන බ්‍රීස් එකේ කියන්නේ ඇඟට දැනෙන වෙනස අනිවාර්යෙන් දැනෙනවා.
ජාතික මෙහෙවර සතියේ දිනවල උදෑසන 11ට.
Newsfirst Face to Face with Jamal Ratnayaka.
Welcome back to Face. My guest tonight is President's Counsel Dr. Wijeyadasa Rajapakshe, presidential candidate of the National Democratic Front. Doctor, before we crossed over to the commercial break, you and I were having a discussion about the new laws that will be coming into play, like the Anti-Corruption Act and the Campaign Financing Act and whatnot. But it was during your tenure as the Justice Minister that certain controversial bills and acts or legal documents were also presented to Parliament, notably the new Prevention of Terrorism Act or the Anti-Terrorism Act, the Broadcasting Regulatory Commission Bill, and also the Online Safety Act and several others. And this really did not go down well with Sri Lanka's civil society and the larger public, and a lot of the people branded it as a retrograde, as regressive laws. But you being a luminary in the legal field, knowing what sort of legal reforms were required, did you in fact present those laws or those bills, at least those drafts, in a good conscience, or were you somewhat influenced to present those draft bills?
In fact, that during last 2 years period, I was instrumental in getting passed over 90 laws. Some are new laws, completely new laws. Some are amendments, drastic changes. That includes the 21st Amendment. Then most of the acts that we'll have to do it in an accelerated mode, because we had given a lot of undertakings to international agencies, especially for us to get the GSP plus relief and also the relief from the IMF. Some people criticize very heavily, but I don't agree with it, especially the most of the laws that we were ought to have passed long ago.
Right.
Best example, the Anti-Corruption Convention we signed in 2004. Only after 20 years that we brought in.
Right.
Just because the IMF say that you bring this one, that it is not unfavorable to this country. Therefore, my concept is, I don't mind, even my enemy is, that suggesting to do a good thing. If the thing is good for the people, I'll do.
You will agree with it?
I will agree with it. Likewise, that I never agreed any of the bills or any of the laws or any of the clauses which will have any harmful effect to the country.
Right.
Then when it comes to 3 bills that you cited, that is very important.
Yeah.
In fact, that you know the PTA, Prevention of Terrorism Act, that there are a lot of criticism. And it has a lot of ill effects also that we have to concede. The 3 major points that we identified, what are the dangerous, you know, the provisions in the act is one thing. A person who had been charged for an offence can be convicted on confession alone.
Right, yes.
Without having independent evidence. When I drafted the new law, I removed it. Then the second one, the authority to issue detention orders, that is vested in the defense minister, invariably the president. I removed it and I gave it to the senior DIG. Then thirdly, the period where that you can detain for any extent. Then I restrained that to, sorry, that in the first place I gave it to the DIG.
DIG, yeah.
I will explain it later. Then the other one is the period. Then I confined that to the 1 month period. Beyond 1 month, the magistrate has to issue orders.
Issue an order.
And then there were a lot of criticism. Then I invited anybody who is concerned about it to come and
raise
have a dialogue. I had series of dialogue, locally and internationally. Then I agreed that the second point, where the DIG is having the authority to issue a detention order. Then I agreed, then okay, we'll forget about that. We'll give that power to the secretary to the defense ministry.
Right.
That on the report filed by a DIG, if the secretary is convinced only, he will issue it.
Okay.
Everybody agreed on it. The detention period also, as I said, that I all agreed to reduce it.
Okay.
Now what I did was the bill that I gazetted with the original version, I withdrew.
Okay.
Then after a dialogue, what we have agreed that I inserted into the bill,
you presented
I presented to the parliament. Is there any other way to pass a better law? The second thing,
the broadcasting
bill. In fact, that there was a ministerial committee which I chaired. We did it in a very good faith.
In good faith.
Good faith. In fact, that some people have a fear when this law comes in, then some of these license will be cancelled and they will act on political basis. As it is, you can see there are no legal provisions, proper legal provisions anywhere to grant a license to run a television station or radio stations.
Okay.
Ad hocly there had been 2 amendments introduced into the Rupavahini Corporation Act and SLBC,
right,
Ceylon Broadcasting Corporation Act.
Okay.
Now the minister has the power to issue it. In most of the time, you know that when the minister is having the power, then always that he will make favors for the people that
who are close to
him.
Him or her.
Then we wanted to avoid that one, just to have a transparent system. Anybody who wants to have any institution like broadcasting or television, these are the criteria. If you can comply with this criterion, you apply, you will get it. Then as it is, the minister can suspend at any time.
Yes.
License can be cancelled. But under this, the new law comes in, the minister has no role to play.
Right. So it
there
will be the
commission. Commission, they have to be satisfied, they will have to give a hearing. The way that they want, they can't cancel it.
Right.
There won't be any political interference.
Right.
The third one was, if you look at the license given to all these television stations and radio stations, if there are 10 licenses, you can see that 10 types of conditions.
Right.
That
okay.
That there is there's
no consistency.
Consistency, not at all.
Okay.
That itself is, that's a violation of fundamental rights. We wanted to make all these things straightforward. We didn't want to do it in ad hocly.
Right.
We drafted the bill. There has to be a document, the base document.
Yes.
Then we started the discussion with all the media institutions. Then thereafter, of course, that it has to be finalized by the Ministry of Mass Communication. they will do it, but we can guarantee that there won't be any provisions just to, you know, restrict the media freedom.
institutions.
Media freedom. We are bound to protect it.
Right.
That is why in 19th Amendment we introduced the right to information as a matter of fundamental rights. Then we brought a separate bill for them to get the information.
Information, yes.
The third one is very interesting. The online.
Yes, the Online Act.
Online
Safety Act.
Online Safety Act, it was drafted in 2015 when I was the Minister of Justice.
During the Good Governance government.
Good Governance, Dr. Ramesh De Silva, President's Council, was the chairman of the Law Commission. They had drafted it, they gave it to me.
Right.
Then I started a dialogue with the media personnel. Then there was a suggestion, it is better to have a, you know, self-made regulations, that they will have a code of ethics. Instead of the law, just to substitute that code. I said okay. Then I entrusted that matter to the Minister of Mass Communication at that time.
We are talking about broadcasting regulation or online safety bill?
Online.
Okay, right.
Online. Then that Mr. Gayantha Karunatilaka was the minister at that time. I entrusted that, but I continued to have the dialogue with all these people. Then all the senior journalists, they said that they will discuss it. Then there are, at that time there were 17 what do you call that, main officers in Asia, just to control that their mass media
regulations,
social media institutions. They were operating from Singapore. Representatives from 17 institutions came to Sri Lanka. Then we discussed all together. Our people went there and discussed. Finally we came to an agreement. They will draft a code of ethics within 1 year or 6 months. I cannot remember the period, because I entrusted to that to the other ministry. Then of course, while they were in the process of doing it, of course COVID came, then the change of the government, nothing happened. Thereafter, Public Security Ministry wanted this bill to be passed. Then I had no much involvement, in fact, that not much, I had no involvement at all. Then that ministry brought that to the parliament, but while it was going on the debate, that we also realized that there are certain things which are not, you know, that
unfavorable
to the people and the profession. Then we agreed it, we discussed. Then I also was involved at that stage, refining the bill by doing some amendments. Then amendments were presented to the cabinet. Cabinet approved it. Then there, I think, once the amendments come in, there won't be much grievances, because that is
they will be more favorable
to these institutions. Because otherwise, now you know that you are in the main media institution, national, called the national media. Then the social media in a different realm. And just to, you know, safeguard the dignity and decorum of all these people, the better to have a law. But we'll have to ensure it should not be abused. In all the cases, the problem is that no, the law being abused. Even PTA is that. Out of that, all the laws, of course, that in with the involvement of the Minister of Justice, we passed around 90 bills.
I see. So why I asked you all of this is because there was a general understanding, because you drew a lot of flack back then as the Minister of Justice for endorsing these bills and presenting them in Parliament with all of the ill effects and the unfavourable provisions that they inculcated. So with that, I want to move on. Unfortunately, we are running out of time, but I want to give you the platform to speak to our viewers who are your potential voters, for you to tell them why Wijeyadasa Rajapakshe should be the alternative candidate they should consider voting for on the 21st of September, moving away from the frontline candidates or the more prominent candidates who we have already identified. So very quickly, can you speak to the people and tell them why you, the candidate of the National Democratic Front, should be elected on the 21st?
You know, when you say that frontline candidates, that there has to be some definition now. You can look at that, the President Ranil Wickremesinghe, he has 1 seat in the parliament. And he is contesting not even from the United National Party as an independent
candidate, yes.
Yes, even in the other cases that the Sri Lanka, that is SLPP.
Namal
Rajapakshe, that party also is scattered everywhere. Only one, that consolidated group is with Sajith Premadasa.
And then Anukumara Disanayake with the NPP.
Yes, 3 seats. I don't think that we can introduce anybody as a frontline candidate because at this time all the political parties also bankrupt and the political leaders also bankrupt. Now that is why that all these surveys say at least 40 to 50% voters are still
floating.
And why I came forward is I compared with the capacities, the education, the qualification, the experience of all the other candidates. Then I thought that I am much better.
You are a better suitor.
Better suited one above the others. It's up to the people. People can decide. People can compare and see. And the other one is that we all are legislators. The people will have to look at all these legislators and see that how much of the work that they have done. Is there at least any single law or act that has been presented and passed in the parliament during last 20 years, 25 years. I think those are the matters the people will have to look into should take into the consideration.
Right. So the presidential candidate of the National Democratic Front, President's Council, Dr. Wijeyadasa Rajapakse's message is very clear. Assess his track record, assess what he has done to the country and make an informed decision on the 21st of September if you decide to vote him for the president or as the president on the 21st of September. Thank you very much, Dr. Wijeyadasa Rajapakshe, for joining me this evening. I know you have a very tight and busy schedule these days in the lead up to the election. We wish you all the very best on the 21st of September, and I hope to see you soon on Face to Face, hopefully in a more elevated position.
Thank you very much.
And that's the way it was on Face to Face this evening. Thank you very much for stopping by. Do take care and have yourselves a great night.